Mayor Pro Tem Percival is out of town with notice, so I would like a motion to excuse him.
Motion to excuse.
Second.
Everybody please vote. Whoops. Button's not working. There we go. Okay. Now, everybody voted? Okay, and that passes 4-0. Our invocation this evening will be by one of my favorite people in the world, Gary Fowler, from the Hemet San Jacinto Interfaith Council, and that will be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. And Chief Brown, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance tonight? So would you please all stand?
Let us pray. Dear God, creator of the universe and all of its beauty and complexity, creator of each of us in our beauty and our complexity too, we give thanks for this evening and for every person present. Those elected or those employed who needed to be here for those reasons, but all the others too who could be other places. We give you thanks for each other, for the dedication and concern to participate. Some will speak and some will not, but be with all of us, we pray, and through all of the discussions and all of the decisions, we choose with your help to serve here together. Amen.
Join me in pledging allegiance to the flag that represents the greatest nation on earth. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, and before we get started, just for informational purposes, our city manager, Alex Meyerhoff, is out of the office today, and he has appointed Police Chief Dave Brown to be acting city manager, and that is why our Chief Brown is now acting city manager Brown. And with that, we'll go on to City Attorney Closed Session Report.
Mayor, the City Council met briefly in closed session at the end of the study session. It was a conference with the labor negotiators. There was no reportable action on that item. That concludes my report.
Thank you very much. Going on to City Council business. The consent calendar contains items which are typically routine in nature and will be enacted by one motion of the council unless an item is removed for discussion by a member of the public, staff, or council. Sarah, do we have anyone from the public that has pulled an item?
Yes. Item 7 and 10.
Item 7 and 10. Okay. And any items pulled by staff?
Mayor, I'd like to pull number 9 to make some adjustments to a couple of the dates and bring that back to you on August 22nd.
Okay, so do we have to act on that one first, Eric, in pulling it from the calendar completely?
If you'd like to continue that to another date, yes, we can do a motion for that and just get it out of the way.
Do I have a motion to continue item number 9 to the next meeting? All right, I'll second. Okay, moved and seconded. Please vote. Whoops. No. One more. There. Okay, and that passes unanimously 4-0. Any to be pulled by council? Okay, seeing none, I entertain a motion to approve 5, 6, 8, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15.
I move to approve those.
Moved by Carly,
I'll second.
seconded by Russ. Please vote. And that passes 4-0. Okay, on to number 7. Someone from the audience has pulled in.
So Pat Gregory would be your first speaker, followed by Marianne Gerald.
Okay. Marianne. Pat? We'll have 3 minutes.
Good evening. The reason I have concerns about number 7 is that I noticed it was to rescind an ordinance regarding sex offenders based upon a 2015 court case in San Diego. So I have a couple questions. why did it take 2 years for us to take action on it? Has the city been not watching what's happening so that for 2 years we're possibly having a liability about the unconstitutionality of some of the procedures? That's question number one. And question number two is, if the rescission goes through, are there any other type of alternative plans to deal with the fact that the city of Hemet has one of the highest rates of per capita sex offenders in the entire United States of America? I took a look at all the numbers and I was appalled when you take a look at the amount and you translate it into per 100,000 people. So with such a high rate of sex offenders, what are we doing? I mean, just pulling out this 2-year-old a problem that's been around for 2 years, and the fact that the police officers haven't been enforcing it, what is the city of Hemet doing in regards to this sex offender problem, which is huge? And I question whether or not what happened in San Diego would also apply to Hemet, since San Diego's per capita is much smaller and they have a higher problem with their vacancy rates, when in Hemet, with its low rates, low rental rates, has a tremendous amount of options for a sex offender. So I would just like to know what the city is doing before they rescind this particular ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. Mary Ann.
Hi. I want to talk on the same subject. We get so tired of coming up here and having to point things out to you that are going on in the city, when we would like to think that all of you up there already know what's going on and have a handle on this. But to know that there are 2 sex offenders that actually live in my neighborhood, and one of them is a woman, and we know that because it's public knowledge, and yet I'm sure we want to rescind that they're not because they feel bad and they can't get a job because they have this title on them. So we don't want them to feel bad. So we want to make them feel better by not putting this label on them. And I get it. Everybody gets a fair shot. But it blows my mind that we're having this go on, like Pat said, for 2 years, and all of a sudden now it becomes a problem when we are one of the highest per capita. And I mean, my children are grown, so thank God for that, but I do have grandchildren, and I'm sure that any one of you, that if you had this going on in your neighborhood, you'd be really concerned. So let's hope that they make the right decision and not want to just rescind this. And let them just walk with no repercussions of any kind. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Ann. And Eric, do you want to start that?
I would be happy to try to address some of those and give you a little background. I have fair questions from both the speakers. Remember, in 2006, the state adopted Prop 82, which was Jessica's Law, that added a section to the Penal Code 3000 and 3.5 that imposes, I'm going to give a real thumbnail sketch, limitations on where probationary sex offenders can reside. The most well-known restriction is within 2,000 feet of any school or park where children congregate. That ordinance, or that statute, did allow local agencies like the City of Hemet to adopt their own sex offender ordinance, which the City of Hemet did as part of its Hemet Rocks program. And at the time, the council, as a matter of policy, decided to be very aggressive in how it drafted its sex offender ordinance. We added different areas that we would measure the sex offender residency from, including parks and some museums and the library and the Simpson Center and a number of other places. We have been constantly monitoring the cases that come out on this law. 2015 was kind of the seminal case, but that's not where it ended. In 2015, my office, planning department, and the Police Department took a look at what that case said and looked at our facts, did the type of factual analysis that we needed to do to justify our ordinance at that time, and felt that we could maintain it. However, between 2015 and now, there have been a number of trial court cases that we've monitored that aren't necessarily reported, but they've all been applying a higher and higher level of factual scrutiny. What does that mean? That means that the law itself that's on the state books and the penal code isn't unconstitutional, but courts have increasingly found that the way cities and counties have been enforcing it is unconstitutional with regard to individual sex offenders. Remember, the law just talks about probation, not parole, and not people who are no longer on probation and parole. And Hemet's ordinance addressed all of those. And so when one of the speakers says, well, we have a lot of vacant homes, you have to remember that Hemet's ordinance was much more restrictive than what was applied in San Diego County. And even at the time that we looked at this, there was a limited number of spaces where, with all of our restrictions in place, where sex offenders could live. One of the other problems that we found is, in order to sustain your ordinance, now you have to have a publicly available map that shows where sex offenders can live. And that's almost like an advertisement in your community to say, hey, you're safe and you can live here. In the meantime, the police department, I think, the chief can weigh in, has found it completely appropriate to enforce the version of Jessica's law that's in the state statute books, rather than Hemet's more restrictive ordinance. We've also been mindful of some studies that have been done over the past 4 years that really have sort of indicated that residency restrictions on sex offenders actually make the problem worse, because they either drive sex offenders underground and they end up living in your community and you don't know it and they don't register, or they become homeless and then become very difficult to track. And so for those reasons, and because of the amount of litigation that's happening over these ordinances, we finally determined that we should make a recommendation to council that we don't need the ordinance to do the job that the police department's doing. And if you have questions on the operational aspects about how the police department deals with sex offenders, I'll have to turn that over to the chief, of course. But if you have any other questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Any other questions for Eric on the legalities of this one?
We'll still be able to look them up for our neighborhoods,
Oh, yeah.
online, everything like that. I mean, we need to feel secure. I have 4 kids too.
Right, and if I could put my police chief hat on for a moment, take off my acting city manager hat. So the idea that we're going to just let them run free and that that we're not going to enforce the provisions of the penal code is ludicrous. It's not what this means. Eric did a great job explaining what this recommendation before you tonight does. Brings us into, essentially eliminates a law that has become unenforceable. All of the other provisions of sex offender registry and the laws that regulate sex offenders are in full force and fully enforced in our city, to include Penal Code 290, which is a requirement to register. So there will be, this doesn't have anything to do with limiting or relieving sex offenders of the requirement to register their address. While Hemet has a very high per capita rate of sex offenders for a number of reasons, to include a very affordable housing, as well as the fact that most sex registrant requirements are lifetime registered requirements. And so with our senior population, there are a high number of our sex registrants are senior citizens whose offenses were decades ago. It doesn't mean we don't continue to monitor them and know where they live and require them to register annually, but that is a fact. And the other thing that we do ongoing, and this has no effect on, is we have a very aggressive probation and parole team, our post-release accountability and corrections team. We work hand in hand on a daily basis with probation and parole to make sure that sex offenders and other probationers and parolees are complying with the law. And so just to clarify, this is not in any way, shape, or form limiting or reducing the level of enforcement that the police department continues to engage in.
And Mayor, one other comment might be helpful for the community to know. Staff actually does go through a periodic process of identifying ordinances that might sound good, but aren't yielding the results that we want. And looking at, is there a better way to do this? Do we need to have this law on the books that's not really doing anything? And we can do the same thing under existing state law. That's really where we came down to in this case. We adopted an ordinance that sounded very good, it felt very good, didn't achieve the results that we wanted to. We can achieve those same results with what's on the books in state law.
Any questions or comments?
Yeah, I appreciate the public comments. I appreciate the explanation by our city attorney, and I appreciate the historical overview and current enforcement profile that our police chief provided. This is a troubling type of issue for me. I've looked at a number of the websites that are available, and it is appalling to see how many red dots show up on the map and how many of them are concentrated in areas. And it was frustrating to me to learn that there's no state prohibition for them co-locating close by one another. It basically provides a network for sex offenders. But I did, in reviewing a lot of the details, it did reveal what the chief pointed out, that there's a lot of senior citizen offenders when you look at their photos. So that's troubling to me, but I understand the rationale, and part of our responsibility is to protect the fiscal assets of the city, and if maintaining this ordinance that's not really helping us in enforcement, and we're enforcing the state law, that does protect us somewhat from unnecessary litigation that we might face if we maintain the ordinance. I appreciate that the city attorney is following those cases, and there's a trend. And I think that's part of what we employ a city attorney for, is to look at trends and to protect us from potential litigation. Even though it may be frivolous in a lot of our minds, I think that the state law provides sufficient enforcement opportunity for us. So that's my soapbox.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Then entertain a motion on number 7. I move to approve it as it was presented. Thank you. We have a motion to approve as presented. Need a second?
I'll second.
And we have a second by Russ. Please vote. Did you vote, Bonnie?
Oh, I hit this.
You're on the wrong. Sorry about that.
I did vote.
Please disregard Mayor Pro Tem Percival's vote. So you're voting with both hands. I like that. Okay, the motion carries 4-0. And please read the title.
Ordinance Bill Number 17-48, an urgency ordinance of the City Council of the City of Hemet repealing Chapter 90, Article X, Division 3 of the Hemet Municipal Code regarding sex offender residency registration.
Thank you, Sarah. And we will move on to number 10, First Amendment to Services Agreement between City of Hemet and Valleywide Parks and Rec. And I'm thinking Dean Wetter.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor and Council members. My name is Dean Wetter, General Manager for Valleywide Recreation and Park District. And I want to preface my comments with 2 things. One is that I had a dental appointment at about 4:30 this afternoon, so if I'm slurring my words, there's a total reason why.
Okay.
The second is I know what a consent item is, but I felt that I wanted to comment on this and appreciate you for this partnership opportunity and the consideration of a future partnership opportunity. I believe that the relationship that Valleywide Recreation and the city of Hemet have portrayed since 2013 in this arrangement has been a model for other agencies. It is bringing our talents together to support the community, and I think we have had tremendous success, of which touches my heart, and we call it heart work. But when we see 5,500 people come through the facilities, and you see them too, we're serving the same people, and I think it's really a tremendous amount of initiative that the community has embraced this relationship. And so since we started this, almost 250,000 people have come through the James Simpson Memorial Center. And I can talk to you a lot about statistics, one of those being the 10,000 eggs that we put out at Gibble Park for the Easter events. But I want to thank you for your vision again and your support. It could not happen without you. And I also want to publicly thank our supervisor of the center, James Edwards, who is here with me today, and his dedicated staff. He's been able to grow the attendance of the facility under very fiscal responsible measurements, and we're very impressed with that. We're talking about the blood drives and health drives, veteran support, the regional agencies that come to do community meetings, affordable rentals. And I want to close by saying thank you to your administration, your staff, and your public works staff. The partnership is unbelievable, and we appreciate the city of Hemet, and we believe in this, our partnership, and we believe in you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dean. Any questions or comments on this item? I think it's a good partnership, too.
And I just want to say that I appreciate you coming out here tonight, Dean, to advocate for the center and for the good that it has done. And we especially appreciate that partnership as well. So thank you under all those circumstances, slurring or not. Thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you. Okay, with that, entertain a motion. Move to approve, yeah. Move to approve by Bonnie.
I'll second.
Second by Russ. Please vote. And note that Bonnie is voting on her own machine.
I don't get 2 votes.
And that passes unanimously 4-0. Okay. And with that, we will move on to communications from the public. Anyone wishing to address the council on items not on the agenda can do so at this time. We ask that you fill out a request to speak form and come to the podium when the city clerk calls your name. You will have 3 minutes. And go.
Your first speaker will be Heather Barclay, and she'll be followed by Natasha Novella.
Hi,
Thank you for
have 3 minutes.
the opportunity. This is my third and probably last attempt. I'm just trying to get extra help regarding what I had reported to the police. Everybody here is familiar with it. I've been here almost every other week. I'm still not getting help. Within this last week, I was arrested, 5150 twice, in each circumstance at an agency to make a report. So police, sheriff, even went to the Air Force Base. This is not going well for me, and what I had already informed you is still continuing. So I would like a serious concern into how I should be handling this. What would be the proper response both for me and people that I'm asking to be concerned in regards to. And, other than that, I don't know what to do. I'm doing the best I can to follow what I'm required by federal law. See something, say something, I have to call the police. I have to. That's what I'm required to do. I'm not asked to go in and do it myself, although I am feeling, and I've been told, this is what I was 5150 for, that I'm not allowed to say this, but I'm feeling that you're creating a vigilante. I feel that if the 8 proper agencies are not going to respond, that I will have to figure out a lawful way to do it myself. One of the groups I reported in Riverside that I immediately, when I moved here to Hemet, was Jasper. It's a child porn ring. graffitied all over my entrance to my walkway at the Dollar General store on State and Stetson. We're talking about serious, what I've been calling local terrorism. That's just a small portion of it. The other portion is what I call lookalikes. They have people that look like a family member. If you haven't seen them in a while, guess what? Guess who shows up at your door? The person that looks like the family member. This is serious organized crime. I am not getting help, and I do not know what to do. So my last attempt to try to get somebody to, I don't know how, but to step in and get me in the right direction. Because I'm tired of, one, going to mental health. They even recognize it is absolutely ridiculous. That's not what it's there for. Getting arrested for supposedly trespassing on the military base, I can only get up to the gate. I can't get on the military base. So, I mean, it's getting ridiculous. So I really need help. I'm doing the best I can.
Thank you, Heather. Chief, would you have someone contact her, please? Yes, we will. Thank you very much. Natasha?
Evening. My name is Natasha Ravia. I'm a resident of the City of Hemet. I am requesting that the City of Hemet provide a notice of intent to residents in the immediate vicinity where construction work is planned to allow for residents to properly secure their animals, as well as stock up on water if there's any planned construction on the water or their sewage lines. Basically, backstory, on August 3rd, I was unaware that construction was scheduled to occur 5 feet from my driveway. I placed my newly kitten that I've had for about a week out front. I was training the cat to be an outdoor cat, so I put the little kitten outside to while I got ready for work, while I was in the shower. And I had done this for a week, and the cat was returning home or returning to the front door each time. But on this day, on August 3rd, when they were starting the construction, which I wasn't aware of, I jumped into the shower, and when I got out of the shower, I heard the large drills that were drilling the asphalt. Went to go check on the cat. Both myself and my son went to go check on the cat to see where it was. They got scared, obviously, and we couldn't locate it. When we got home that evening, my son found it deceased in the backyard, where I guess it probably jumped from being scared, and my dogs unfortunately found it. So unfortunately, that was one consequence of us not knowing that we had construction literally 5 feet from my driveway. And then also our water tasted and smelled like sewage water. So what I'm just asking as a courtesy is that when there's construction planned like that, when there's certain, level of equipment, that residents be notified so that we can properly secure our animals, as well as prepare like some drinking water for a couple of days, even if it's a couple of days notice if we're given to do these things so that we can all work together.
Thank you very much. And Chris Jensen, would you raise your hand? And Deanna Eliano, would you raise your hand too? And would you get with her on both of those issues? Because if it's public works or another construction, I believe we are required to give notice to people. So please check with them, and then we'll get a report at the next meeting on how that went. Thank you so very much for that. Next speakers.
Your next speaker is Andrea Federon, and she'll be followed by Brian Rubin.
All right. Good evening, Mayor, City Council.
Evening.
I guess it was a couple weeks ago, I was standing up here and we were talking about two seemingly dissimilar topics, mosquitoes and bingo. Tonight we will be talking also about mosquitoes and bingo. Actually, we probably don't need traps in Hemet, because if I don't die of dengue fever or yellow fever, nobody's going to. I have 75 mosquito bites on me right now. And this is from sitting on my porch outside of my home. As I mentioned 2 weeks ago, I contacted the park manager. I'm the vice president of the Heather Estates Homeowners Association. I contacted him via email. His response to me was, "What are you, the park manager?" That was his response. So I spoke with Eliano, I think, from planning, or yes. And she sent out a gentleman, very nice, from code enforcement. He came out. He was freaking out when he saw the bites on me. He's like, "My God, I can't believe this." So he said, "We're going to send out traps, the whole bit, and everything else like that." I don't know what happened after that, but all I know is I'm being bitten alive outside there. We have a gully that the management just dumps stuff into. We have a stagnant pond. We have water that comes through the park every single day. It comes through the park so often that the owner actually built a concrete structure so that he could make the water go through the park. And so it goes through the park and it just sits there and is stagnant all day. I mean, everyone has bites from mosquitoes in this park. Now, on to bingo. I think I still have a minute and a half left. Bingo.
Go.
In our park, the owner of the park, for-profit park, they pay corporate tax. Code enforcement decided that they should get a bingo license over the Homeowners Association, which is a registered senior organization. Now, I believe there are 7 different statutes of the Tax and Revenue Code, and they are very specific. They direct code enforcement to only give bingo licenses to senior associations or homeowner associations. There is no way that the owner of a park should be running bingo. And not only are they running bingo, they're not even giving the money to charity. Who knows what they're doing with it? I mean, this is a management that is running, they're using our clubhouse for funeral homes, hearing aid thing. There's all this commercial solicitation. Where's the money going? Okay, what's our next event we got going here? I mean, it's unbelievable. It's absolutely incredible. And in fact, we went down there, and we went down to code enforcement, and we said we wanted to put in a bingo application. They go, oh, Heather Estates, we have one just like that. Someone else just put this one in. I said, well, that's the park owner. You can't give it to them. Sorry. The HOA is rejected. So I would like somebody in the city to tell code enforcement that they cannot give one to the manager or the owner of that park, and that only the Heather Estates HOA, who will make sure that money goes to charity, should get that. Thank you.
Okay, and Andrea, I want you to get with Deanna Iliano again. Just one point of clarification. Code enforcement can't issue any type of licenses.
Might have been business license, right?
So business license can. They have a lot of guidelines they have to go by also. But between Deanna Iliano and Lorena, you want to get in on this too? Raise your hand. Those 2 ladies back there will take care of you on both mosquitoes and bingo.
Mosquitoes too? That's great.
Mosquitoes too. Thank you. Thank you, Andrea. Okay, next speaker is Brian Rubin. Mr. Rubin, welcome back. Haven't seen you for a while.
Really? Brian Rubin, 1694 V, Simpatico, Hemet. First of all, I'll address this to Acting City Manager Brown, a.k.a. Chief Brown, for not too much longer. We appreciate the service and leadership you provided, and you will be missed. A second one, a thanks to the city. Unfortunately, Manager Meyerhoff is not here, but Councilperson Wright and Public Works Director Jensen are. We had a town hall meeting several weeks ago where the residents expressed some concerns with the city. And for the first time in a very long time, we had our streets swept by the developer. But to let people know that there is a problem with the streets, they had to send a truck ahead with crew to clean up all the debris, all of the asphalt that had come up from the streets before the street sweeper went up there. So they had to do that this time. I mean, it is a problem, a real problem. But the street sweepers was here. I believe that was an effort from the city, and I do appreciate that. That is appreciated, and a lot of residents will be happy there, and they're going to be there every 2 weeks from now. Another thing, Councilperson Wright, I didn't know you were from Chicago. We vote early and vote often. But this is actually to sort of address the Councilperson Wright. I was concerned by the action and did speak at the Planning Commission meeting last week. And they found the development to the south of us, that plot, in substantial conformance with the way it was set up before. But to really question, I had brought some things to Councilperson Wright that the city said no accommodation was made to that development to imply that it would have been an over 55 community or age-restricted community, even though it said it was an age-restricted community, except for the fact that you allow 5,000 square foot lots, and just the fact that they allowed the lots there and were sharing our amenities was probably a concession, even though they didn't make others. And so I'm just concerned. I don't know what we need to do. You know, the Planning Commission has made that based upon the information I had, but do we do any appeal? I mean, within 10 days, I mean, do we have anything? If I could get some information, I know you can't necessarily respond now, but get information so if we need to do something within the next couple of days, we at least know what our options are, because I think we raised some issues that really deserve being looked at by the council, because the council actually made the decision, but unfortunately council members that were here in 2009 aren't here now, and what the intent was, but the point is if there was discussion, shouldn't it really go back to the council to either affirm or not affirm that decision? So that's just the concern I had from there. So, I mean, if you can provide some guidance.
Deanna, can you respond to that? You want to do it publicly? That's fine.
The action before the Planning Commission at the last meeting, which is requiring finding a project in substantial conformance with the existing tentative map that was approved. And there was some initial thoughts or intention at the part of the developer that it might be an extension of the Del Webb community. However, the Pulte has decided not to move forward as adult-oriented, and there were no conditions of approval on the map for adult-oriented. The city, as we explained at the Planning Commission, is also restricted by state and federal law from requiring or zoning anything specifically for senior development. We had to even repeal some of our senior-only zoning as a result of that legislation. So in looking back through the specific plan, 5,000 square foot lots are allowed by right. There are no concessions. It's a single-family detached subdivision that would be different for senior versus non-senior. The whole reason it went back to the Planning Commission for reconsideration is that because it was not going to be part of Del Webb, we wanted to make sure they had on-site recreational amenities in their own HOA that would have that recreation amenity. So if it is appealed, which would be the action, the Commission's action is final unless appealed within 10 days to the City Council, and there's an application of fee that can be filed with the Planning Department. But if it is appealed and for whatever reasons denied, they still have a subdivision map that they can record in final and is not age restricted. So we're trying to improve the subdivision by having the on-site recreation.
Thank you. Any other speakers?
Pat Gregory, and should be followed by Jim Ramona.
I'm sure by now you're getting tired of listening to me, but on this particular issue, this is the third time that I've brought this issue before the council, and I'm going to keep coming here every 2 weeks until I get an answer. Maybe you don't really understand what I'm asking, so I'll try to be as clear as possible. In 2016, the utility building rental fee for the water department was $352,000. 2018, it's $550,000. I would like to know why there's a 56% increase in a rental fee for a building. And the other fee is the utility land rental fee. In 2016, it was $572,000. In 2018, it's $900,000, which is a $330,000 increase. Last time the city manager mentioned something about right-of-ways, which might relate to the land rental fee, but I would question why is this happening the same year, coincidentally, that we have an increase in our water rates. So I would like to know why we have over a 55% increase on these two items that go directly to the city and that apparently are not related to the issue or the running of the water department. So I've asked the city manager, I've asked Kristen, and I cannot get an answer. So if you want to get rid of me, give me an answer and I won't have to ask.
Don't want to get rid of you. We're having a total work study on the water issue on September 12th.
Okay.
So please be here. It should probably start at 6 o'clock.
Okay.
All righty. Thank you, Pat. And now Jim Carmona? Carmona. Got it. I even spelled it that way.
There you go.
You'll have 3 minutes, Jim.
I'm here to complain about an alley, and I live where I live, and it's behind me, and it's off of Devonshire and Tockwitz. And it's a constant problem. I've called the city in the past, and they've been pretty good about it, come out and cleaned it. And then all of a sudden they haven't. And it seems like there's a problem with code enforcement, and there's a problem with the city yard. Nobody knows who it belongs to, whether it belongs to the city of Hemet, and who's going to take care of it, who's not going to take care of cleaning it up. I just want it cleaned up. It doesn't matter whose problem. Okay? They all work for the city. They all work for the public. So it's time for somebody to say, I'll do it. Okay? This place is talked about, it just trash is this high from here to the wall and further. The alley's become a place where people that steal cars park them back there and then they catch them on fire. The last month, it's the second car. And that's not proper. That's not right. So there's some inaction someplace, and my captain for the neighborhood watch has been helping me out a great deal. He's here tonight, and I think we maybe in 5 days have somebody from the city come out to clean it. Okay? And I don't know. And the problem I think is I'm sure widespread over him everywhere there's an alley. So it's got to be what the heck I'm trying to say to you here. It's something that needs to be addressed with the council to put somebody in charge of these things. Charge the homeowners, the property managers, I should say, the owners of these houses where people are living and they just throw their stuff in the alleys. There has to be a solution. So anyway, so that's what I was going to tell you. And again, it's between Devonshire Street and Malibu Streets, and it's an alley there right off of Tockwitz Boulevard. I thought I had some pictures I was going to show you, but again, I don't have them, but they're about that tall.
We have the address, and we have Public Works here, and Code Enforcement, and PD. You'll have some people over there.
So, are they going to talk to me about it, or what?
Raise your hand, Chris.
Raise your hand, somebody.
And Deanna.
We'll hold you to it.
There you do.
Thank you again very much.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jim. Any other speakers, Sarah? No. Okay. With that, we will go on to City Council reports. Councilmember Brown.
Okay, well, a week ago, it's okay.
I wasn't listening.
That's all right.
Okay.
A week ago, Tuesday, I, along with several, almost a unanimous appearance of council members, attended and
you
participated.
can say it. The mayor wasn't there.
No, I'm not pointing fingers.
The mayor wasn't. The mayor was with
mayor
grandchildren.
Was out of town. So, it was a very nice national night out. We had Hemet night out in the Target shopping center, and there was a lot of good participation, good representation of our volunteers, and our police explorers were there. Community pantry was represented, and police and fire departments did a nice show and tell with a lot of their apparatus, and it was a nice evening, even though the weather was threatening off and on, and it kind of thunder showered on them while they were trying to set up, but it turned out to be a humid but enjoyable evening there. So that was very nicely done, and plans are already in place to do it again next year. And then on Friday, I attended the Chamber First Friday event held at the Salvation Army. Again, very well attended. I'm very impressed with all of the activities that I've attended so far with the Chamber, because there's a lot of infectious enthusiasm demonstrated by the participants and members of that organization. And we had a speaker from the California Earthquake Authority that provided some really good information on how the state has, it's not a state agency, but they operate out of Sacramento, and how earthquake insurance has been modified over the years. I myself I've had it, I've dropped it, I've had it, I've dropped it. I'm going to revisit it again after hearing a presentation, because they have a lot of different options available to homeowners now for earthquake insurance. So that was time well spent there.
Good. Thank you, Beth. Carly.
All right. I'm getting hoarse, so I'm sorry. We had our homeless outreach team community forum 2 weeks ago on Saturday, and so we had a guest speaker, Paul Webster from Solutions for Change, and he was going over solutions for Hemet and things that we can do to help with our homeless situation. So that was, we had a okay turnout compared to the last one. And I also attended the National Night Out. That was great. There was, seemed like there was a lot of community members coming. So, and then I have a coffee with Carly on Saturday at 9 o'clock at Destination Bistro.
Thank you, Carly. Bonnie?
I also was at National Night Out, another great event. Also attended the homeless team event as well, and appreciated Paul Webster coming out. And if you remember our homeless task force, we are contemplating his model of successful homeless intervention and what his team has done in Vista. I attended the Western Riverside Council of Governments yesterday, long meeting. We mostly talked about the Community Choice Aggregation Program, which is where cities have the opportunity to buy power and save money for the residents if they choose to be a part of that program. And we're just baby steps right now. We're going through what the agreements will look like in the bylaws, and trying to find an executive director for that particular program. So I look forward to bringing, and I think they're going to come out and actually give another presentation to us as we move forward. The Homeless Task Force, again, that's at the end of the month. So we'll be meeting on the fourth Monday. Skate Plaza Task Force, we did not have a meeting. Well, we did have a meeting. We don't really need a quorum because there's a task force, but a lot of people were out of town, so we are looking through the proposals for the feasibility study, and we'll have more to report on that at a later date. That's it.
Thank you. And let's see, under my reports, well, I went to some of them the week before. We had our board meeting for RTA the last week of July. Regular business with them, we did renew the UPass program with Cal Baptist University, which is a cooperative effort between RTA and Cal Baptist, where their students pay a nominal amount and get to basically ride the bus at a reduced rate to get to and not only to and from class, but to and from anywhere they want to go during the semester. Rapid Link is a new express bus that is going to be starting in Riverside. It will go from UCR to downtown Corona instead of I think there's normally like 78 stops between those two locations. Will be an express bus with limited stops, and I believe there's only like 12. That grand opening is going to be on August 25th. It's a Friday. It's the last Friday of August anyway. So That should be really good. And another thing, just on RTA in general and their bus drivers, and we just think of bus drivers who just get you from point A to point B. During the year, there have been several instances where bus drivers have been extremely instrumental in finding older people that have medical problems. And it's not that they've been told beforehand, but that they have seen someone on a bus that looks maybe like they're a little confused, or maybe they shouldn't be in that location, whatever. So they call into dispatch, into PD, and ask if anybody has been looking for a particular person or whatever. And during this last month, two of their drivers were very instrumental in finding this same person on two different occasions and reuniting them with their families. So when we see bus drivers, they do more than just, say, get on the bus and sit down. They actually are on the lookout most of the time. A couple other things. Through the League of Cities, I chaired Riverside County Mayor's Breakfast last week, and it's usually a quite informal gathering of the mayors of all the cities in Riverside County, and we discuss topics of interest, and usually the majority of the discussions at this one was the lack of common sense, I'll use it that way, in the legislation that has been going through Sacramento. We were fortunate that we had Assembly Member Chad Mays come and talk to us on numerous issues, and collectively, as a League of Cities in Riverside County, we have taken opposition to probably more bills this year than we have had collectively in the 7 years I've been on council. Another point that was really exciting last week was an event at Hemet Hospital, and they had their third white coat ceremony. Their white coat ceremony is a residency program for doctors at Hemet Hospital. And they're in various different categories: radiology, internal medicine, geriatrics, this type of thing. And a limited number of people from all over the United States, and as a matter of fact, all over the world. There was, I believe, a young man from Russia and another young lady from somewhere on the continent. They've graduated from medical school, but they have to do their residency program someplace. And there's very limited facilities anymore in the United States that are doing residency programs. Hemet Hospital is one of them. So this is the third class that is coming in. Some of the students stay here for 1 year of residency, some for 2, and some for 3. And there's a couple of them who are considering staying here permanently as being staff and operating or opening their practices in Hemet. So it was really an exciting thing. I think there's 20, Tony, you were there, 20 some kids. Let's put it this way. Okay, they were all under the age of 35. They're all kids. So anyway, that was really exciting. And that's all for me. Ad hoc committees, public memorials. Okay, investment policy, we haven't met yet, but I think we've got all of our information that we need to get going on that. Refuse delinquency.
Our first meeting is scheduled for August 28th.
Okay, very good. And master annexation, we have a meeting scheduled for August 21st. Okay. City manager report.
Thank you, Mayor. Members of the council, a couple of items. While I'm giving you those, I'd like to ask Lieutenant Eddie Poos to prepare a presentation for you on our crime tip reward program. While he's doing that, I want to just again acknowledge the great work of our folks on the National Night Out that several of you attended. There were plenty of balloons and face painting and great displays by the police, fire, and AMR and others. So we really appreciated that night. Appreciate your attendance. 6 of our recruits, 6 of our explorers attended an Explorer Academy hosted by the Corona Police Department over the last couple of weeks. And on Saturday, Lieutenant Glenn Brock attended on behalf of the department and was asked to sit on stage and help to award our very own Explorer Coley, who is Officer Coley's brother, in the Explorer program, the top Explorer Award for the Academy. So we were very, very proud of that. Thought you might like to know that.
Police officer.
Future Hemet police officer. And the Coleys also have a cousin in our program as well, and we're keeping a close eye on her. She also performed very well in the Academy. On Thursday, August 17th, we'll have our next recruit will graduate. This is our first recruit that we've sent to the San Diego Regional Police Academy. I'll make sure it's on all of your calendars. It's a week from this Thursday, 12 o'clock noon at San Diego Regional Police Academy in San Diego. And lastly, I just want to introduce, first I'll have Lieutenant Eddie Poost, our investigations lieutenant, give you an update on, once again.
You sat down too fast.
Give you an update on our crime tip reward program, and then I'll ask Fire Chief Scott Brown to give an update on the operational readiness and the situation in a wildfire season in California.
Okay, welcome.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, acting city manager. Yes, that is. The reward program, as you know, it was approved March 28th of this year. I was assigned to put it together, so it gave me about a month and a half. It actually went live June 15th. Basically, it's to incentivize people to come forward because we rely on that information for many cases. There's different motives for people that want to provide information. Some people would like to do it because it's right, it's just. Others, I like to work things off, and those are certain individuals that we work with in collaboration with the DA's office, and then we also have people that would like to get a reward. I put together a few slides just kind of help to describe how somebody could provide a tip and receive a reward. On the right, you'll see some reward logos we put together, which you'll see throughout the slides, which will assist in scrolling through different sites for hyperlinks. And we have a site that's called the Valley Crime Stoppers, which is a site you remain totally anonymous. It's confidential. And we also have other ways of doing it by making a phone call, using a non-tip line that we have within the police department, as well as the San Jacinto Valley Crime Stoppers Plus tip line. We have terms and conditions that we have written down on our site for rewards. It's common amongst other jurisdictions or police departments in our jurisdiction, as well as throughout the state and throughout the nation, for those that do have a reward program. And I'll cover this. The City of Hemet offers rewards for information leading to the identity, arrest, and conviction of persons responsible for committing serious crimes, including those which result in serious injury or death. The Hemet Police Department is requesting your help in identifying the person or persons responsible for these types of crimes. If you have any information, please contact the Hemet Police Department or the listed detectives investigating the specific case. It is important that the assigned detectives are aware that you are providing information due to the interest in these reward programs. Reward amounts will be determined after reviewing all documentation detailing a claimant's cooperation and involvement to justify payment. And on the top, as you see, is up to $10,000 offered. We have to be flexible on this, depending on the information that we receive. On the top left is our Hemet Police Department website. If you log on to there, you'll see at the top Hemet Police Department website, which can also be accessed through the city website, through departments, and then the police department. You scroll down, you'll see to the right is a pair of handcuffs that says reward. Anywhere on the box, if you click that box, it'll take you to the reward program and the terms and conditions on the left, which I just read the slide previously. And if you scroll down, you'll see we have listed some cases that we are working that are either active or cold cases, and there's a list of them. I just set a couple up there, and then there's a small box in each case It's a brief description of the case. We don't want to give out too much information because we're relying on other information from citizens or witnesses or individuals that overheard somebody talking about that specific crime.